All right, guys, welcome to the group chat. On this episode, we go through the opening summer cricket day. We get excited for it. We talk about a couple of controversial topics like our very own favourite Australian cricketer / Australian hero / future Australian Prime Minister, David Warner. And we talk about the park cricket moment of the week.
Stay tuned.
So the summer of cricket, lads. What have we got here, Ashley?
Furfies, yep. I bought this just because it sounded cool. Sounds like you screwed something up and it sounds like a furfy, right? So
Yeah. So the word furfy is like
It sounds very Irish, doesn't it?
telling a lie, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
It's like when you tell a furfy.
Okay.
Is that right?
I believe that's a slang for it, but I'm just reading this. It looks like the Furphy family. So
It sounds like a furphy, mate.
That's brilliant.
Well, cheers, boys. Good to be doing this again. Cheerio.
Cheers, boys.
There you go.
It's nice and chilled.
Yeah, that's nice after a long day work, eh?
Said Hubert as he pretends to enjoy a beer.
Hey, when do I?
He opened it up and poured it out behind him.
Oh, look, I'm already done, boys.
Here's a warm can I prepared earlier.
So, guys, the summer of cricket is upon us. It used to be a monumental part of the year where you're all looking forward to the first ball of the test. But we've been watching so much cricket. Does it have the same impact on you guys? And
Yeah, no, you're right. There's so much cricket on the moment. There's just because when we were younger, I remember it used to be like the first ball was such a important day. It was like you used to be waiting for the day for weeks because the footy had finished, no sport for a long time. First ball cricket, that's you waiting for that day. And I guess now with so much cricket, it just feels like another day of cricket now.
yeah.
It's where the players transition from one type of cricket to another one, right?
Yeah,
so you're like, they're putting on a different outfit. All right, different game. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But I think it's still got its, watching that first ball definitely has that appeal, right? So it probably brings back some more childhood memories and the younger days of those memories, right? Some of these new matches, it's pretty new formats, right? So,
Yeah. There's definitely a big tradition of watching the first ball. Me and the guys when we were at school, we used to jig school towards our last couple of senior years just to go home and watch the first ball. And then our work, as we got into work traditions, it was about skipping work. Well, maybe not the whole day at work, but escaping work for a half an hour or an hour to watch the first ball, which is always a good tradition to have.
That's a pretty long first ball to be leaving for an hour or two.
It's like, do you guys watch cricket at night? You know, the Ashes or an overseas test series. You always tell yourself, I'll just watch this over and then I'll go to bed. And then you watch the next over and then you watch the next over. And then a new bowler comes on. You're like, no, I can't go to bed after what's the first over of this. That's what the first ball experience is like. You end up watching the first 10 overs and then you're like, I should probably go back to my job.
But it was always like an awkward time as well. It was like 10 a.m. or something, right? So like you couldn't just, it wasn't like a lunch break. You had to like sneak out during work hours and, it wasn't easy to sneak out as well.
Yeah.
But you know what? They're the good memories. I remember we did it quite a few times where, we would just sneak out of work, go to a local pub, watch the first ball and then come back up again, pretend nothing happened,
That's right.
You're like, I shouldn't have eaten that food last night. Tummy's really hurting. Downstairs and use the toilet.
It was a really long toilet break.
I remember one time when we were at the audit office, when I was in the kitchen, this is when I was like 18. Oh, it was probably my second year actually. I was 19 because I took one of the schoolies that I had to mentor to watch the first ball with me. I took him to the kitchen. I'm like, mate, we never missed the first ball. Turned it on, watching the first over, and the assistant auditor general walks past. And he's like, should you guys be at work? And I thought he was kidding because he's like an Aussie fella. I'm like, good one. First ball, mate. And then he goes, turn that off, please. And then he walks away. And I was like, oh, crap. I'm going to lose my job. But I watched the first ball. So
you still didn't miss it. That's the main thing.
But yeah, good traditions. Looking forward to the summer of cricket and wasting a lot of time in front of the TV.
So I guess, speaking of summer cricket, what's the latest hot topic is David Warner. That's his retirement coming up, whether he should be selected or not. Is he in form? That's sort of the hot topic right now. So I guess, what do you guys think about that sort of, what's happening with Dave Warner?
Well, I've got a couple of things to say, but it might not be popular.
Fire away.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm all up
Well,
for it.
what do you think? I don't know if you guys are on social media much, but there seems to be a general hate of David Warner lately, despite the fact that he's, one of the old heads of the game still going. He's 36. Why do you think he's hated?
I mean, I think it's just the way he plays. Like, he's a very aggressive player, which, look, honestly, I love that. That's the sort of guy you want in your side of the team, right? But he does rile up players and other opposition fans. So he's a guy you hate on the field. But, you want that guy on your side as well. So he does have that polarizing sort of characteristic about him. But, man, he is a great player. He's done well for Australia.
Yeah. Yeah. And his aggression is, like, even Australians, for some reason, I think Australians especially hate him now. And there's a couple of reasons to that. Aggression is one. But like you said, that's such a big part of Australian cricket. The aggression, the intimidation, that's how they play cricket. And looking into his history as well. So I don't know if you guys know, but he grew up in the Housos in Matraville. He's a Houso boy, having known a couple of kids from the Housos, having gone to school with them, a couple of kids from the Housos and stuff as well. There's always something different about them in a good way that I've always envied. It's, they don't take crap. They're, essentially put the wood between their teeth and they'll have a go at anything. They've got that aggression, and I've always envied that with the kids that I've gone to school with or worked with. But he's got that particularly. He's got work ethic, and that shows in his aggression on the field and off the field. And I don't think that's a bad thing. That's the first thing that I think is an advantage of having. That's obviously spilled on into a couple of unseemingly incidents, like that brawl with Joe Root.
Yep.
And the SandpaperGate issue. Ash, do you feel like you want to refute any of that?
The first one's completely fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So the brawl with Joe Root,
Yeah.
which is apparently negative, he was obviously drunk, but he was essentially defending another nation's player because he thought Joe Root was taking the mickey out of him. So Joe Root, for the full story, Joe Root was wearing a big afro wig on his beard, and Dave Warner basically said, look, throughout the night this guy was pissing me off. When I saw that, I thought he was taking the mickey out of Hashim Amla, and so I had to go at him. Whether that's true or not, that's not a terrible story. Yes, he lost control, but
Yeah, I find that fine. That's completely fine in my
cool.
view.
All right.
No, not the.
It's just two men sorting out differences, man. That's all it is.
Yeah, but I mean, there's probably better ways of sorting that stuff out, right? But
yeah, but it's Ellen DeGeneres lookalike.
Yeah, he can't come back and use the I'm a Houso, and that's he's gonna sort of go, yeah, look, if things aren't right, there's probably better ways of approaching that. So yeah,
I'm sure he'll look back on that. But he was a few beers down, and I think he went through a big no drinking thing after that as well to show that he was serious about being reformed. But the second one, the SandpaperGate stuff. Now, before I talk about it, what's your view on it?
Ooh, that's good. It was straight out. It was thought about. So in my term, it had that malicious intent, but just executed poorly once again. Like, what's the purpose of doing something else like that on it within the field, and then trying to get other players involved, trying to think strategically, like no one's going to see a piece of yellow sandpaper. Just pull everything, right? So, there's much smarter ways of doing these things, but like, what did that get out of him? Did he even think about perception and how that's going to look for younger crowds and his brand and everything else? Like, he's still got his brand intact largely, but his perception's completely changed now, right? From this guy's an aggressive, hero for Australia. Everyone just went, maybe. Like, yeah. And that was a big difference.
He's pretty much branded as a cheat now, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly right. And that's going to be, like, while he's done the time, that's going to hang around with him for life. right? So even his kid's going to be tarnished with that. So that's something that he has to figure out, right?
Damn, man.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Like you're going to say Warner ever in your life. What are you going to think about in this generation?
100 runs in a session.
So, mate, I think it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Like, So it's just he's probably not fully thought it. If he got caught, he's probably just gone, we need to win a game, and that's it, right? So, yeah.
And you tend to see that, like some of these great players, they can, guys like Shane Warne, they've done so great in the career, but you remember them for the stuff they did wrong. And he also got cheating. Dave Warner got cheating. So like they're the stuff you remember from these guys, right? Even though how good they were playing cricket. So it is sort of it's one of those things where so you can build your reputation for 20 years and take it one day to just ruin it. And that's what's happened here with Warner.
I think you're right. I think that says more about us as humans than them as people, though, because they are, they're in the limelight. Things they do, have a larger impact on people around them and audiences around them. So that's definitely a point. But I think with the whole SandpaperGate thing, I think he's done his time. He's taken that 12-month ban. He's taken a leadership ban, and he's come back essentially with his tail between his legs for a large part of it. Worked hard, worked his way back into the team, performed really well. What hasn't sat right with me is he's painted with his brush as a cheat, which, he did cheat and he did, do the wrong thing. But there were so many other people in that team that have gotten away with it, and he essentially took the fall for them.
Yep, I completely agree with that one. Because I think like the challenge is once you've taken the fall, like with any sport, you're always going to be tarnished with that, right? And it's not necessarily like the ones who enjoy the cricket can somewhat say, actually, he's done the time, and that's fair, right? If I take probably a comparative view to like performance enhancing stuff in other sports, players who are doing test steroids, all that stuff, you retain that gain effectively. Like while you can get off the gear, you've still held that mass. So you're at financial, not financial, you're a benefit. Whereas in this case, David Warner's done something that's not right for the game. Has he physically hurt somebody? Like he's more tarnished a brand and a reputation of things, right? But it's probably also uncovered other holes within the organization where people have actually figured out going, this is not a him problem. This goes up higher, much higher than him. And that's what it unraveled for me going, wow, this is once again, this has been tolerated. Therefore, people have known about this.
Yeah. And they still hid that though. Like when that whole review came out, it was like, oh, the culture of the playing team is, hasn't been great. That needs to change. But it was like there's a whole wider discussion about, from top down. And I know you're a Tigers fan, Ash, and you're big on the board down impact.
Yeah.
That definitely needed to be talked about, but it never did because, those are the big wigs. Those are the ones that have massive salaries attached to it. So we're never going to get the scrutiny.
What we don't know is how long any form of cheating's been going on for, right? Let's say through the 80s and the 90s, what actually got passed is, some pretty questionable things, which we didn't think about. And then, in this case, they're like, hey, let's go to Bunnings and whip out some, a sandpaper. They probably just thought that poorly, but, attaching it to your finger or whatnot, or sewing it onto your trousers, I mean, it could have just been just as bad, right? And they could have gotten away with things. We just don't know how far people were willing to take it, right? So
yeah, and so that's definitely one that will tarnish his name. But like I said, every other player's in there with him, but they don't get painted with the same brush.
So he's done the time. He's come back. He's in form. He obviously has not stopped playing cricket. He's continued training. So I mean, he's come back in form, like likely, right? Like he's been training for a while, a couple of years off. He's come back. Are you the type of person that goes, he's done his time, let's move on?
I wasn't at the start, but I think he's served Australian cricket well since then. I think I've grown as a person as well because I think now that he's he's gone through that punishment, he's taken the fall, not just for his actions, but also his teammates that have been compliant. Through it all. I think that's fine.
So and yeah, like I think that's probably the large part of it. It's about having those perspectives, right? Like the way he's being tarnished, it's almost like he went out and he got done for murdering people, and not murdering people, but murdering children, almost, right? That's the brush he gets tarnished with, not he just did something stupid on the day, And that's the challenge of it. Is it more that the media just want to grab onto something and they just want to keep, producing this story about effectively nothing. And he's already done the time. He's already admitted to it, stupidity, whatnot. Why do we keep hearing about these same stories then? Is it just to get attention because the sports commentators are like, we've got nothing else better to produce and we need some journalism, and we'll just keep adding more spice to it each time, right? Going, oh, but by the way, we got a text message from this person saying that their cousin knew about this thing or whatever it is, and that's another week's worth of stories, right? So, what is the perception? Like, should he be tarnished that hardly? Whereas when you see criminal, like, and they come out, it's very different, right? Because it's different layers of sort of challenges, right? Someone just steals something. You won't go, oh, for a life. Like, you might go, oh, you're a thief. But then at the end of it, you're like, oh, well, he's done the time, so let's forgive him. All right, let's move on. But let's say someone then loses a life, probably wouldn't go, oh, he's done the time. Let's carry on, right? It's all different layers on different things, right? But I think he's been tarnished at the maximum by everyone.
Yeah.
Look, I just think Pakistan coming this year for summer, it's not as entertaining as India or New Zealand or England coming down. So they need to find a story. And Warner retiring is a great way to sort of bring controversy into the cricket, right? Get people watching the cricket again. So I think that's why it's all come up again. That's why Johnson's, the media glued onto what he said. He did say some controversial stuff, and they glued onto it, and that's just keeps going now because that's all everyone's talking about. Because I think the actual game playing Pakistan, look, I think Australia's going to roll them pretty easy. So there's not much there to talk about. So so that's all they're harping on about Warner now.
Does it create that excitement though for you guys? Like when you see that, sure. Because to a regular person that probably is not that interested in cricket, now you're getting on your Facebook and your Channel 9s are starting to promote that stuff. Maybe it is good for the game, right? Like, aside from tarnishing Warner's name a bit, but he does get the general excitement going again, going, oh yeah, there's something on. Aside from NRL starts, which it's always like someone's done something stupid before the game, and you're like, oh, there goes a couple of people, they're out. Like, this is actually probably for the better, right?
Yeah. It'd be even better if they belted it out in the nets. Mitchell Johnson gets a red new ball in his hand. David Warner pads up, and whoever wins that session gets their way.
Was it ultimate fighting cricket, right? Championships. Like that. How good would that be, right? You get six balls.
They started boxing with the cricket guys like they do for the NRL boys.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a great first match. Mitchell Johnson was Warner.
And the last thing that probably gets a lot of unfair airtime is his wife's comments in the media, which, his wife is, well-established sports person, Iron Woman, has now access to the inner sanctum by being married to a great Australian cricketer. She's hired essentially to give her opinions on everything sport and everything cricket. But anything she says is essentially shut down because they're like, oh, how can she be saying that? But two things. Firstly, she's hired for that role to give her opinion. But second thing, she's always backing her husband, which I think is actually something that should be commended. But instead, she comes out and says stuff and like, oh, you can't say that about your husband. I think she said something like, well, no one's really knocking on the door to take his spot, so he should be playing. And that was her opinion, her genuine opinion. And even if someone was averaging 100 and she said that, I'd be sitting there thinking, as much as I would disagree with it, you'd be saying, yeah, his wife is backing him, which is, something that's should be celebrated. So, but it turns out it isn't.
So, like, let's use that example, right? Like you said, all right, the wife's backing him. Like, what's the point of telling me that, right? Because I'm the audience, right? Why do I care that the wife's backing him? Like, why do I need to care about that at all? Aside from the wife not going to be backing him, being like, actually, there are several people knocking on the door. Like, do you just keep your mouth shut if there's nothing productive to say, or do you just want to be like, hey, I'm supporting my partner? Like, what's the validity here? What have we achieved?
Well, she's pretty factual about it. There isn't anyone knocking on the door, but
I agree.
But you said the point that you was like, aside from the knocking on the door component, you said you're supporting that your sort of the encouragement there is about you having a supportive family member, right? That's the overall.
Yeah, I'm saying nothing is. She's entitled to her opinion, even if it means blindly supporting her husband.
And it's not a surprise she is supporting her husband. Like, that's what you were trying to say, right? Like, fact that she's supporting her husband is how
Let's-
ideally the ideal should be like that.
Yeah.
Well, okay, hold on. Like, if she let's handle it slightly more differently, right? Let's go controversial with this one. Why don't she said, "Well, who's knocking the door?" ... Who else is knocking the door, right? She don't have to say I'm backing my husband.
Yeah,
Actually, that would have created way more better, I think, publicity, right? Because she's actually putting it out there. She's not going to be like, "Hey, buddy, I'm still supporting my husband. No one else is knocking." Just be like, "Who else is there?
yeah, true.
Who's going to take his spot?" Leave it out because no one can take that spot.
Yeah.
He came back still a gun, in my
Yeah.
opinion, right? Because he's got that skill behind
Yeah.
him, and he's a veteran. He's got that arm. He's got everything going for him. So chuck it out there. And if he can't perform, then that's
That's right.
that I'd be challenging it that way, not who's knocking the door, blah blah blah, and whatever sort of sentences to support my husband. Like, mate, calm down. That's just made the whole statement to me useless.
Well,
right?
she never specifically says, "Look, I'm his wife, so this is what I have to say." But I think it's fair enough with what she says, and I think she doesn't get enough respect and credit. I think that's something I wrote in my article. Is like someone controversial, like an Abby Chatfield, will come out and say something, and everyone will be like, "Oh, what a legend, what a hero, good on her for speaking her mind." But she'll say this, but because it's such a sensitive topic like cricket, which Aussies get so riled up about, or anything sport related really, they don't treat her with the same kind of brush that someone like a Kyle Sandilands or Abby Chatfield would get with an opinion.
Yeah. But I think that once again, if you want to do that, there's probably ways around you having your own view and points to come across, and then you can sort of get that same message across with the same impact. But it's just a wording, right?
Yeah.
So maybe she should have gone ChatGPT. How do I word this better to stir up an audience, right? Or hey Kevin Sampath, can you word this for me as my publicist? And then Kev would have been like, actually, we don't like this word. Let's use this. Make a bigger impact.
So speaking of statements, then, what do you guys think about Mr. Mitchell Johnson came out and said? Do you reckon that was fair? How he approached the whole Warner situation?
Trying to get some airtime. That's what he's trying to say.
That's the first thing I thought about as well. Like, she's trying to get back in the fame.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you guys think of his?
Well, I listened to his podcast only out of interest of this. So two things that stood out. Firstly, he gets a ghostwriter to write his articles. So there was stuff in there. He said one thing he regrets, he said on the podcast, was the Bunnings sandpaper comment. He said, in hindsight, the ghostwriter and stuff, and he wrote that, but he should have taken that out. So that's something in hindsight. But the other thing was he deliberately let his emotions translate onto the words that he wrote in that article. So I think he said something earlier in the year, and Dave Warner messaged him something rude. I think he said something about him and his wife, and Dave Warner messaged him something rude, which, probably fair enough. If you say something about me or my wife, I'll probably message something rude too. But he said, I'm an ex-cricketer. I always liked, if someone has a problem, I want them to call me and talk to me about it. But, him coming out and saying that's, again, his opinion. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. End of the day, he's trying to do his job and create interest out of something that he's writing. And now that everyone's talking about it, I listened to his podcast. I didn't even know he had a podcast.
Yeah, that's news to me.
And that creates new commercial opportunities for him. So good on him for finding a way to hack the system, I guess.
Yeah, look, I think as professional sportsmen, current and existing, so ex, I think they need to have their own channels of comms, right? Just to make sure that it's all done properly. Once again, all that proper comms. But in saying that, I wonder if those two are in on it, just trying to go, hey, we need to just start some beef with each other and just get some attention going. This is, it could be like us going, hey, we just need to create some interest. Let's just slag each other off for a bit. The media will take this as, they'll take it by the horns, and we'll just let it play out. And you see them in the background just having a beer with each other. Who knows, right? Like, it's there's probably more to this story than we think, but I suspect they'll still see each other in general settings going forward, right? Like, the Australian cricket team's not that old.
Yeah. And the other person that said something, Ed Cowan. I don't know if you guys remember when David Warner first came out onto the scene. Ed Cowan was the next opener in line. David Warner skips all these hurdles, does these amazing things in T20 and one-day cricket, and then springboards into this test opener sport. Ed Cowan has been fighting so hard in Shield cricket the whole time, and David Warner overtakes him, and he essentially doesn't get. I think he played a couple of games after that. But if I was Ed Cowan, I would also be bitter, and I would translate that into my articles. So again, personal opinions have come through.
No, but
whether it's right or wrong.
Why would you be bitter? Like, you're not entitled to a spot in the Australian side.
You're not, yeah.
The best person gets that spot.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
Yeah.
But you can see kind of that bitterness sometimes coming out through things like this.
You see that in the corporate world as well, mate. Like,
That's true, yeah.
Like, you may be the best person for the job, and then you get overridden by someone else. Like, that genuinely takes a hit. And then you see most people that who have been overridden, they don't tend to hang around there for too long at that same company,
that is
right?
true.
If a big move's happened, you usually see some resignations. If not, they hang around and they're pretty sour grapes after. They'll make the workplace really toxic. So, yeah, I mean, it's like you're saying, it's not granted, but it is annoying seeing that because you've trained your whole life for this one moment, and to see someone else like a superstar come along and jump those hurdles, it is irritating. So, was he hungry enough, or did he take it for granted, going, "Oh, I'm the next in line"?
That's right.
And slacking off, and then you got some kid that's hungry like Warner going, I want to out of this existing life. I want to be the best. That's all that makes a difference, right? Because once someone's got that hunger, there's no stopping them. No stopping them at all. So if someone comes in from a privileged background, it doesn't matter anymore, right? Because that skill will show. So
this just in, Ash just said Ed Cowan was slacking off.
Absolutely, you heard it first
on Channel 7 tomorrow.
Australian sport is bloody competitive. And there's a reason why we're the world's best with a lot of stuff, right? Yeah. It's because we don't take suckers. Sometimes people hang around past their due dates just because of their brands, but for a large part, they're the top because of that reason, right? So
yeah, actually, just on that, something that I'll digress with. We give crap to Jono about making SG ball, but on the other day I saw on Facebook a team list come from 2008 SG ball. And he was obviously on the list playing second row. But I was looking at the teams and all the teams that were playing that round. There's just I think there was like 5 or 6 players out of every single team that I recognized who had played NRL since. Out of, I don't know, like 150 players that played competitively at under 18s, which just goes to show Australian sport. I guess professional sport in general is very competitive.
And like even just a string of bad luck, and like a few injuries when you're 18, 19, your confidence goes out the window, right?
That's
like
right.
when you get injured playing first grade, very different, right? Because you've got all the right networks there. But if you get injured outside that, you don't have the right support. You don't have the right treatment. You come back, you're permanently screwed up your arm or wrist or whatever it is. It's never the same, and your confidence goes out the window, right? So it's huge, but it is like that with sport though. You have to have a lot of things aligned to you. And just the right openings as well. You could be the most talented guy and just never get an opening in first grade. How annoying is that as well, right? You got to wait for an injury to literally get in. Like that's what it is like, right? So yeah.
3 things to finish off with. David Warner is a pretty big dog businessman. I think he's invested in like a brewery. He's got investment in like a vodka company. I'm pretty sure properties everywhere. So he's no schmuck in that department. I also like how he's embraced the Bollywood culture. So he's all over TikTok doing Bollywood dances and stuff like that, which is why I think he's a marketing genius. He's really embraced that, and as a result, attracts all these sponsorship deals and things like that.
Yeah. Taking that from Brett Lee's book, right? So
yeah.
The OG and Gilly.
And the third thing is he's a proud Roosters supporter. So
Is he?
yeah.
Oh, mate. You should be out of the team now.
You said Matraville, right?
Yeah.
Is that the home of the Roosters? Like, is that close enough?
It's
That's
Eastern
probably-
Suburbs, isn't it?
Or is the same reason why you supported Sydney Roosters?
Mate.
This is Sydney.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do where you live, mate.
Or is this maybe that's a West Ashfield? I think. Yeah.
I think
be a
Matraville
Balmain.
is Eastern Suburbs.
Mate,
I
that
know
sounds
Candice supports Souths.
I
So
think that's we should go. Can someone Google that? I'd be very curious to figure out if he's just chosen a team with a bird on it, like Kevin. All the Kevins.
Yeah,
all
Matraville
the,
is in that area. Malabar, Maroubra,
Okay,
Coogee.
fair enough.
is that South? So
Probably
that
is,
still-
but I think there's a lot of, is it Victor Radley and someone played for the same club and one is Souths, one is Roosters. I can't remember.
right.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of crossover in those regions.
At
And
least
then-
one's a guy from the West supporting Sydney Roosters.
How'd you go from Toongabbie to Sydney Roosters,
Yeah,
mate?
that's right.
Mate, I
You
live-
want to explain that gap to us?
When I came to Australia as a fresh-eyed immigrant and I wanted to support a team, I picked the team for the city that I was in. And the only city I recognised was Sydney on the team list. It also helped that the
Hey,
year
I'm
I
pretty sure when
arrived...
you were there was Sydney City Roosters.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Were
the
you,
city of Sydney.
Did you live in the city?
I didn't deduce all of that when I was a
How did you get?
11-year-old kid.
All right, so let's move from that one. How did you start supporting Liverpool? You
That's
wouldn't-
because of Harry Kuehl.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Fair enough.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'll pay that.
There's
good
always a connection, bro. And Hubert started supporting Arsenal. Why did you start supporting Arsenal?
Oh, it's just because one of my mates did as well. So he was from London, so he got me into EPL, so that's how I started supporting Arsenal as well.
There you go.
Fair enough. Lads, I want to show you something. It's my park cricket moment of the week. So Hubert, you've kept before, right?
Yes, I was a backup keeper. Pretty crap, but I was, when all the options were gone, that was me. I jumped
Is
in.
it, what layer of backup were you with that?
Yeah, I think I was like third or fourth.
Oh, you were starting keeper for like a couple of seasons.
I was maybe when I was a bit younger and fitter.
Well, one thing he's definitely keeping is that beer warm. I want to show you a video. So this is my park cricket moment of the week, and I'll put this on the video for everyone else if you can see this. Actually, let's rewind this to the start.
I thought it was a video of me. Oh, no way.
Something on it. Firas is
So it
celebrating.
literally catches that. between
What's
his calves.
going on there? Oh, ho, ho.
This is I think this is the European League, or maybe it isn't.
Again.
Nah, that's not European. I think that's something else.
Look at that.
One more dives
Yeah,
it.
great catch.
Oh
that's a catch.
my
Yeah.
goodness.
touch the ball. Didn't
Unbelievable
touch the ground.
scenes. The big man
Oh,
behind the
that's
The kind of
stumps.
stuff that you only see on these leagues, which is just great. Maybe next time we'll bring out a park cricket video from our series, brought to you by KS Sports Park Cricket. Cool. Hubert, you wanted to say something about people liking and subscribing. I think you said you're sick of it. You're sick of no one subscribing to the
Yeah,
videos.
guys, mate. I think if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel, and hopefully we'll start bringing out more content. Hope you guys enjoy it, and feel free to comment down what you guys want us to talk about as well. If there's something we want to, any topic you want us to talk about, happy to read the feedback and let's get on it.
Yeah, it's just common etiquette. Like, you watch the video, you subscribe. It's like going to a urinal and someone's peeing. You just don't stand next to them. You go to the one, 2 urinals down. Similarly, common etiquette to just like and subscribe.
Oh, right, okay. Thanks for that. Thanks for that analogy, Kev. Yeah. I thought you'd go out and stand next to him, make conversation and make eye contact and just start looking up and down occasionally.
Cool. You heard it here, guys. Like and subscribe. Catch you next episode.